Hey.
Hello.
What are Gwarn? What are Gwarnin?
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen you guys in months.
It's been
Yeah,
years.
they again in the Gideon.
Listen to me, no man. It has
Yeah.
been seasons have changed.
Seasons. Boy, so many changes worldwide since.
Oh my
Yes.
Lord. When was the
Yeah.
last time? When was our last episode?
Our last episode might have been around June, I want to say.
I know things happening.
Let me see. Let me find out.
June,
5 months ago, whenever that was.
yeah.
5
Wow.
months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot
Well,
of
I'm glad
time.
to still be here.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to still be here, and I'm glad you're all still here.
Yes. Amen. Cause it's
Mm.
one of the things that I've mentioned as I was saying to Mike, one of the things that we should I don't know if we should talk about it, but one of the things that's been on my mind is that this just feels like there's a lot of people transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the age, it don't really matter the age, just lots of people that's transitioning. Sometimes week by week there's another person. Well,
Right.
in my situation anyway, there has been like the past few
Mm-hmm.
weeks, at least 4 people have
Wow.
transitioned.
Yeah.
So yes, it's just really strange.
And in that space of time, I Fidel has gone.
Mhm,
And my father passed as well.
that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a lot, and then also it feels like you get kind of numb with it too. But it's still,
It's and yeah, and it's hard, because if you don't know, then you are not able to move through because we don't have mourning places, we don't have grieving places really. Grief
mhm.
is supposed to be for this kind of short time in a short moment that you have prescribed for you, and then you move on to the rest of your life.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but each of these losses is deeply felt. I
mhm.
mean,
Yep.
our creative community, we've lost Tony Henry as well. We've
Right.
lost Tony Wilson.
Mhm,
Internationally, we lost Judith Jamison just recently from Alvin Ailey.
mhm.
Um, just
Q.
it's
Yeah, we lost
yeah,
Quincy
It's
Jones. Yeah.
right. So it's so much, and I don't want to become desensitized. But then
Mhm.
if I sit in it, man, nobody's gonna see my face for a while.
Yeah,
yeah.
but grief. I
Sadly,
mean, grief don't work, so you can't just package.
um,
It can't be just treat a week or 3 days.
mm-mm.
I mean, it might be next 5 years. You might still be grieving.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I am now, and it's interesting because this has impacted my creativity. When I really sit down and think about it, I'm rounding out a year in terms of grieving my dad. And I mean, even though it's more than a month since he had passed, like since the anniversary of his passing,
Mhm.
but I feel like the final part of the cycle or the circle is the date of the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
which is coming up soon. So there is these landmarks and stuff, and I'm realizing also that now that I'm nearing the end of that, I can feel my creativity starting to be peaked again. Even though
Mhm.
I've had it intellectually, I've had ideas, but I
Yeah.
never had any kind of motivation because a lot of my energy was taken in wondering how in the world we're going to manage this first year, how we're going to manage this first year without that physical presence.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting the impact of the grief on the creativity for me anyway, because maybe some people can use their art immediately to sort of start to get things out, but I have just had to say, you know what, one thing at a time. Let me just, and I don't actually have the energy anyway. I couldn't have manufactured the energy. I only
Mhm.
recently did something creative with Eugene Williams, which just closed 2 days ago.
Yay.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
what was it? What was it? The
It was
play?
for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough by
Right.
Ntozake Shange.
Mhm.
And I've always loved the play anyway. And when he asked me to do it, I was in a rough spot with the institution. And I
Mhm.
was thinking, man, anyway, I'm going to do it because Eugene is my mentor. I love work with him. And, big up School of Drama, I love the drama kids. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And it was rough too because I was trying to navigate the grief because it was all coming to a head around October time and, family responsibilities. but I was still able to find the energy and the joy in making again, because I hadn't made any dance or anything for the entire year. I wasn't even moving. Still, I'm not really, but anyway. And now that's a nice soft introduction back into my creativity, and it was pretty successful. So now, when the year completes, I can carry the grief in a different way, I think. You know, as a movement artist. But yeah,
for Neila too is that, I mean, yes, there are people transitioning, but maybe you're talking about the episode like this 9, because we're saying maybe we'll make this one the last one,
right?
And 9 is a really important number. And whose number is it? Was
the Orisha Oya,
right?
Yoruba Orisha Oya.
And you said something about the gates to the
she's the Orisha for the gates to the cemetery, but also the whirlwind of change. A lot of
So for me, that feels like, well, I can't speak for myself. It just feels like there's a lot of change happening in my life,
Lord.
but internationally, of course. But also this graveyard thing means that there's, for me, maybe I'm, that's just my interpretation, that there's some things, either it's the thinking or it's the being or the dwelling that we need to let die from within ourselves, from around ourselves. Just let it wither and rot and slough it off, kind of thing, because it feels sometimes that things are stagnating. I mean, maybe that's not the situation for you guys, but for me, sometimes it feels like things are just staying the same for too long,
for a while,
and they're not necessarily good things that are staying the same,
right? I was trying to do live and let die, but your voice is best for it. Go.
Live and let die.
It's interesting that for a little bit of a while now, I've been using or working with the concept of die to the old. And for me, die to the old is a very powerful thing, because it's about claiming a future in which the old things no longer exist. The old ways that you no longer want to be no longer exist. And so the parts of you that you want to have, you claim it. So it's not the old. You claim it, and you're using that to form something else, where you're dying to the old. You're dying to anything else that is inconsistent with the person that you want to be. And so with that, and it's been helping me a lot, because I feel, as you said, Mike, there's a period of stagnation, a period of and sometimes it's just that the growth is not as physically evident. The underground growth is a foundational growth that has to happen in order for something real to happen. But while it are happening, while that growth, that stagnant growth, maybe, I don't know, while that thing is happening, it feels a little uncomfortable. Suffocating, yeah. It's to die to that old thing that serves me.
I find that being Gen X is an interesting state, because, and I feel even though everybody has different experiences individually as well as regionally, I feel there's like a global sort of thing, because of maybe how we have had to bridge particular generations in a certain way. I have a feeling that a lot of Gen Xers were trained to hold the old, meaning to hold the old in a different way, because how can I say this now? We kind of received a legacy, especially in the arts. So we received this legacy. These people were more pioneering, and maybe their second generation continued the pioneering, and we received that very precious thing. And even though we probably never agreed with everything that went into that, we understood how important it was to the larger scheme of things. And so we might find ourselves grappling with, how do we rail against it and create something that new, because everything that was pioneering before eventually becomes institutionalized and almost fossilized, right? So it almost ends up pushing out the same kinds of things it was fighting out in the beginning. And so we are holding up the old even though we ourselves
fought against it somewhat.
fought against it before. And I have a feeling that if we are not actively trying to die to the old, or allow the old to die, even while we're still maybe holding those spaces, we're just going to end up upholding the same old paradigms over and over again, which is not what our forebears did. Our forebears gave us the thing that they found when they changed things.
Yeah.
And we are supposed to also change things, but we have been holding it together. If you look at a lot of the creative institutions, if you look at a lot of the cultural institutions, and you may have younger persons like Gen X people there who aren't making differences, who aren't trying to change paradigms, who aren't saying, wait a minute, the world has shifted, or here's where the world is going to go. I don't know if they aren't able to, or they just aren't interested in doing it. But I find myself having to grapple with that because I want to change things.
Yeah.
Right. I am on the cusp. I can see what is coming. I'm good in terms of being visionary, and I like to enable evolutionary change, not a bad change. But I do find a number of people who are in my generation are not interested in that at all. They don't want to rock any boats. And I'm thinking of the pioneers, and they were so boat rocky. They were like, look here, man, we are killing this old. And maybe because their old also had to do with something colonial, something that was not of them. You know, it might have been easier for them to say we're going to die to that old, but then now their new has become our old, and we're not understanding the spirit in which it was created. That kind of risk, that kind of vision, that desire to move from it. I don't know if it's generational, but I see it in the I see it in the creative sphere here.
I think that there's a. So I feel there is a way in which our generation, we're the carriers, we are the holders, we might not necessarily be the fighters and pioneers, but what we do is so valuable once we recognize it, once we recognize what we're supposed to be doing. We don't have to be reinventing the wheel, and we don't have to be kickstarting something because it was kickstarted by a generation before. But we have to be actively engaged in bridging the gap while pushing, call it an agenda, while holding to a certain sense of identity. What am I saying? I'm saying that the people that we're interacting with, the young people that we're teaching, for example, and interacting with, they are so wrapped up in the world in a certain way, more things than we would know. They have much more information flowing to them in such an interesting way, that in such a prolific, it's just a whole heap of things coming at them, and they are just taking bits and pieces of it as if it's all good. As if it's all good. But our generation, we are meant to hold on to the consciousness of Blackness in a way that the young people today just say, oh, but I'm gonna bleach, because they don't understand what the concept of.
Yeah, it's an option.
It's an option. Then so we are we're carrying a sense of identity for them and holding on to it, because the Neckerford them and the Chevans and the Rasta of the past and all of these people fought for an understanding of Blackness. But we never fight in the same way, but we have to hold a consciousness. You understand? We have to hold that consciousness. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that we have to be that type of person, and even while we're holding that consciousness of understanding of Blackness and reverence towards unity amongst us as artists and all of these things, we are the generation. I remember when I saw my first cell phone.
Right, do you remember?
Remember
the brick?
I remember watching black and white TV and seeing my first color TV. I remember seeing the first cell phone. I remember the first time I saw a guy wearing an earring, and I said, a male wearing an earring. I remember when something was invented called the internet. And then there came so many different things on social media and all of those things. And So there's something that there's something so special and magical about our generation having through all that. Those are major transitions that happen in a relatively short space of time. We are young enough to still be using the technology of the present, holding the consciousness and the identity of the past, and being able to pass it on to new generations, but still being that generation that is not fighting, but holding and carrying something into the so that these people, although they don't seem to be appreciating it much, can use it and utilize it. And in time they too will be able to appreciate and fully value it. That's how I'm choosing to see it, because you can
When you mentioned thing about rocking the boat, I don't know, I feel like I've rocked the boat. I feel like I've rocked the boat a lot,
that's
actually.
true. Yeah.
And at times it can be a lonely rocking. You know, because you want rocking the boat, and just you and your friend them understand what you're doing, and nobody else. You know, so and it's also what's the word? Not frustrating, but exhausting.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know,
Burnout is real with that. Yeah.
and it burn out several times. You know, you burn out and you recharge, and you burn out and you recharge, and you burn out and you recharge. And you know, who knows when who knows when the recharge is going to be longer than the
right than the
So
I mean, I don't know. I think I agree with you both. For me, the analog in me is embodied. It's an embodied analog that we have. Like we know the dial-up phone. We know when you have to wait the 10 to get the 0. Like we know it. And so remember them something that or the TV what do you call it now? The dial where you turn it. You turn it or you pull the button.
And if it ever broke.
And if it broke, me sorry for you. So so we have that encoded in our bodies as an experience. So we have experienced the change from analog to digital, which is why we can be bridged, because we understand the principles of one and appreciate the convenience of the other, right? Whereas other generations now come into the convenience of that other as if that convenience is it. They don't have anything else. So we are supposed to actually remind them about first principles. Like pull it back to first principles almost all the time. So I understand that part in terms of keeping a certain kind of legacy. But I also find Micah Harris, you're an exception, right? But I find people not willing to critique the same legacy that they received, because not everything in the legacy was good. It was good for a time, but times have changed, and not everything is meant to stay the same. I find people not willing to just be honest and interrogate, you know, because the people who gave us legacies are not saints. They're human beings who had a vision, who at a certain point in time were able to spirit coalesced with them. They made a big thing happen. But we have a way of holding on in this country anyway to that big thing and saying that's the only big thing that can ever happen, and that's it. And then everything else that happens is based upon that one big thing that happens. And if that big thing doesn't change, everything else can't change. So I want to try to also keep the spirit of those pioneers. You know, in as much as I'm not just holding a legacy, I'm holding a fire. That is it. I'm holding a fire. With the hope that fire will also be found in other generations who don't have the same physical and embodied experience as I do, but they can still feel that version of the fire for themselves. And continue to move things. I know many of them are not interested in the stories about legacy. They're not interested in the stories about whose hard luck story and who only had $10 in them pocket when they got abroad and all them. Them not interested. Them not want to hear that. Them want to know them can do them thing now and figure out how to do it now. I don't want us to get caught up in trying to pander to that though, because when they try to do that in immediate and instant stuff, and there's no substance underneath it, you know, they're gonna just deflate, as against understanding the brick by brick that you need, but also understanding that you can also make it 2D, or you can code it, or you can whatever, but actually have an experience of building a brick now. Have an experience of the weight of it. It can help. It's not gonna hurt.
I I love how you put that a while ago, Neila, especially because what came to my mind immediately was like a Ninja Turtle type of thing where everybody
Mhm.
have their different powers.
Yeah.
Or you know those superhero stories where
Mhm.
you have these four people, the Fantastic Four, and one can stretch elongated, one is
Mhm.
just to bullets, and the other one can go invisible.
Mhm.
Think of it in that same way as we're all the holders and the carriers, and your task, Neila Ibanks, is to hold the fire. Michael Harris's task maybe to hold the dream or the creativity. Mine might be to hold the sense of an
Mhm.
identity that is going to be lost and certain. You understand? So I know, for example, one of the things I think Michael holds is an understanding that underneath the skin, we are all one. So, and yet, because we're all holding a certain consciousness together,
Mhm.
if we can unify and unite on that consciousness, the world will be a better place. Because on a surface level, my holding the consciousness of blackness and black identity and strength might seem contradictory to Michael's holding
Mhm.
consciousness that yeah, but you know, black, but under the skin we're all,
Mhm.
there's no real race. Race is not a, you know, race is a construct. It's a, you know, and he,
Mhm.
that although it might seem contradictory to me
Mhm.
identity, the paradox, the idea is really just that we're holding enough truths in our,
Mm.
so that the one truth will eventually reveal itself.
Got you.
You understand?
Mhm.
So that is how I'm
Mhm. Mhm. I just thought about Captain Planet. He's a hero. You remember when the cartoon there and you had the people wind, fire,
Yeah,
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 exactly.
or the Avatar, Airbender, the last
yeah.
Airbender.
I am the power.
Hey. Yes, I guess. Thundercats. Okay, yes.
Oh,
Um,
that
I'm
was the
so
main
influenced. Oh my gosh.
from
But
the cat.
yeah, yeah, it's thank you for that because it is kind of lonely holding the fire,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
and it does burn out if you don't have somebody else to kind of pass it to.
mhm.
It kind of feel tricky. But yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank
Hmm.
you. Thank you for holding the
Hmm.
fire. Thank you for
Hmm.
being space for us to collaborate. I mean, even just the context of you holding the fire for this podcast.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
So glowing ember man. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do it no, because you know, I and even having the conversation now
Mm.
that it should be the last one for the year and stuff like that. You know what? If it be the last one for the year no more, we just want to go and talk.
Cause it's nice.
But
It's nice
it,
when we talk. We talk nice.
yeah, it nice, and because it is, it's not just the talk, but again that holding of a consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody somewhere down the line is gonna look at
Yeah.
these podcasts that we've done, and they're gonna say, oh, so there were people in that time who were holding that
Mm-hmm.
consciousness
Mm-hmm.
in spite of all of that was happening around them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in this time who's gonna look at it and say, wow, even if it's one person gonna look at it and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this lit a spark in me.
Yeah.
And
Like the Nettlefords and the Joyce Campbell,
Yeah.
those Barbara McDonald, them people that they lit a fire and a spark in us.
mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this way, maybe we are doing the same for others.
And we're
Yes.
holding a space for each other too in
Mm-hmm.
this moment,
Yeah.
which is important, which sometimes we don't acknowledge that we need.
Yeah.
But but we're holding a space for each
Oh
other.
Lord, it's necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a space that you don't really, well, not you, we don't really get everywhere. It's from
Mm-hmm.
other things about this space that we hold for each other is that it is not just one thing or the other. It's a lot of things in one. It's a, we're
Yeah.
a creative space for each other. We're holding a space of integrity for each other. We're holding a space of support for each other. We're
Mm-hmm.
holding a space of acceptance of each
Mm-hmm.
other. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we're in spaces and places where you might you're giving your all, as Mike said, as you said, oh, Tonila, you're doing all of these things, and you really
Mm-hmm.
think and you understand what you're doing, and you think it should be so valued because you know the space from which you're doing it. When it's not happening, you're not kind of, respect or whatever it is that you think you're not getting. It's good to have a space where people understand the value of what you really bring, because it's not all the while or in everywhere that you go that people will understand what you have done for them until time has passed, until such time. That's why so much we hear of them dead, because them dead that we know say, oh my God, them gone now, look at what they've done for us. But they had to go through fire and brimstone, they had to die, they had to, it's a real thing and all of that, and then we can value them. But sometimes they were not even valued as much when they were alive.
No,
we hold the space for each other.
I want, okay, this is a thing, but I don't want to forget it, because you brought up a hero, right? And we had this recent conversation out here, Mikey Harris, I don't know if you know, regarding new national heroes.
Oh, and they're calling them icons or something.
Versus icons. So once you're involved in the arts and culture, I guess entertainment too, you are made an icon instead of being made a hero. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, immediately as you said it feels like a cop out, but then also it's a word. It's a word.
It's a word.
It's a word, and in some ways that could be interchangeable. But if the people who are making those decisions feel that they need that delineation between a hero and an icon, then that's them. Who cares? That they can feel that. But the impact of Bob Marley and of
Louis Bennett
cannot be questioned. The impact on what they've done for the country, what they've done for recognition and for valuing the culture worldwide, it can't be ignored. And I mean, and yes, some of the heroes might have fought for freedom, but this is a different kind of freedom. And a different kind of empowerment that has instilled, and it's not one instant in time, but it's something that is continuous and that is seeing rewards daily and yearly and decadely and whatever else.
That's the word, Mike. The empowerment factor is what is the real thing, because it would seem that only if you cause a bloody war, a whole heap of people dead, or you're a politician with a trail of politicians, and people following you and saying, oh, you were the first politician in my line, you don't become a hero. It's not valuable enough to be a hero. But in the same way that Norman Manley and Buster Manty were builders of a nation, Bob Marley and Louis Bennett, I should put it in other way, Louis Bennett and Bob Marley were builders of a nation. They embodied who we were as a people. And this is not to say that they weren't doing it for their own self-interest, because everybody is,
Yes.
Norman Manley, for all of what he was doing as a politician and as a leader and as a philosopher, and he's doing all of these things, he was that person who wanted to be that person, and him wanting to be that person means he's doing it for himself. He's doing it philanthropic self-interest is another word that they call it. Enlightened self-interest.
Okay. Which is not a bad thing.
A bad thing in way, shape, or form. Joan of Arc, who is one of my heroines, enlightened self-interest, even though she was speaking to God, there's a person in there was speaking to God, and God was speaking through her. And all of what she did is because there's a direct focus on her and her connection. That it's important that we acknowledge that and don't put down music and culture and language because it's not politics and warfare.
But the thing is that that kind of for that separation, for that acknowledging that this is different than this, is the problem, and it has always been the problem, and it just kind of speaks to them more than Louise
and the weight of the word.
because that's why they don't understand Edna Manley, and that's why they don't understand music and art
That
being
is where I'm
important in
going.
schools and in education generally. They are doing a disservice to the culture and to the country by not acknowledging that. But it's a bigger problem because I know you're at UA, Michael, but some of the people at UA and UTech don't understand it either.
Of course.
And so if you're in a meeting with people from UA and UTech and Edna Manley, they kind of look down on the people from Edna Manley or from the institution and think that they're better than them. And when they're probably worse, if anything. So it talks to their mindset, and it's sad because
it's really
the most brilliant academic I know is Neila Ebanks. Bar none.
I mean, I even get my PhD yet. Imagine when I get my food.
Oh, right. Like Morning Star, I can just wrap rings and circles around.
Imagine when I'm doctor. Sorry, go ahead.
We don't need a doctorate for you. You don't need a doctorate to say you're bright. You're bright, right. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that the way that we position people in terms of their fields or their careers, and the ironies of it all, that you can study a field from externally and be more renowned than a person who has mastered the field
inside. I as soon as I heard that distinction being made and that binary being made, I said to myself, oh my God, there is so much intellectual uncaging that needs to be done. And I'm hoping that I'm around for it. I wish we were a loud group of people to say, actually, we don't accept that as a nation and understand why. I was thinking it through, and I said, okay, so with an icon is, and especially the way people talk about icons now, an icon is to be looked at. An icon is to be worshipped. An icon is far from you in a way, right? If you even think about the icons and iconography when it comes to religion and that sort of thing, a hero is somebody who gave something up for you and somebody who you want to be like. And you want to be like them, not because you can look at them, but because of what they gave from their heart and their soul for you. For me, that is it. And I sat with it, I said, but them are this way. They are in making this false binary, saying to us, one, that the work of the culture and the arts has no risk. It has no, as you said, possibility for empowerment. It has no possibility to engender freedom. And they're showing how limited they are in thinking freedom only looks one particular way. So we're free now. We're not free yet. Oh, we're free now because we don't have no shackles. No, in the suit and the tie and the big car, them, I build up building and I cut down the tree. So we're not free. And that's why the cultural work is heroic work.
Yeah, and that's why they actually even banned Bob Marley's Zimbabwe.
Exactly.
They banned it because
internationally. Exactly. It's a mental freedom that needs to be worked on. The only thing that can actually do that, okay, in collaboration with making living conditions better, right? Because that it supports. But it's a cultural freedom. The identity freedom, it's a psychological freedom. The mental slavery is what the problem that we have. And when these pundits as well as these politicians go up and make these sort of decisions, they can't even acknowledge for themselves the truth of why they made that decision and distinction, They might give you something for whole. Them not know, because them not examine themselves.
Because they're part of the system. They're part of
course.
But the truth, though, Neila, the truth is they can call it what they could have called them the petunias of Jamaica. If we decide we're calling them our heroes, we're gonna call them our heroes.
That's very true.
And we have a loud voice anyway. And so they can call it anything.
It's true, Mike. It's just that, and I understand that, because you say words are words, but words are also based upon there's group meaning associated with it.
I agree with you.
And when you have an opportunity and a platform to be able to stamp something into being that children are going to learn, right? I wish there was discussion of
Yeah.
informed discussion before that was stated like that. Because when children think about how impressionable we were, we have our little exercise book. Your anthem is on the back, your multiple times table, you have your pledge, you have them something, you have your national heroes, them. So there's already an idea that now you're going to have your heroes and your icons. And the stories that are going to be told about the icons may not be as fabulous as the stories about the heroes. I don't know how they're going to be packaging this thing. And I don't like that we don't have any say. We don't seem to have any say in it.
I mean, for me, when you think hero, I mean, I think save. I think somebody who has saved a group of people, or saved a culture, or saved a thing. And the truth is that Louise saved people from feeling that them if them talk patois, then they're stupid.
Yeah.
You know, they saved. She saved the culture. She saved songs. She saved poems. She saved sayings and all these different characters and stuff. Bob has saved countries. Bob has saved nations, not just Jamaica. And the truth will come out one way or the other. You know, and the people who make the things that interface with students and with other people can do whatever they want, because nobody in the government is going to tell you, oh, this is not supposed to be this is supposed to be an icon. You can't call it what you want. I'm lucky. So I have a little story. I have just a story on the mindset of somebody's people. I remember Nicolene sent me to some meeting at the ministry, and it was a few different things. So they had a breakout. They had a big meeting and then some breakout things. There's supposed to be some tertiary this in one room and this that in another room. So I went to one room. I was like, I didn't know where it was, because honestly I didn't want to go, because I don't like going to those things. But anyway. So I go into one room, I open the door, I was like, is this where I'm supposed to go? And then this guy, I don't know who he was, he was in a suit with some like thick rim glasses from some tertiary institution. I was like, oh no, I think you have the wrong room. I was like, okay, what room do I go to? But clearly he knew who I was. I still have no idea what his name is. So, in his head, he felt very important.
Yeah.
So like, get over yourself.
Yeah, Google me.
Right? Google
I'm in any room, I'm in the right room.
Exactly.
No, man.
There should be some names added to that iconography then. I think Rex Nettleford.
For sure.
And I think Olive Lewin.
For sure.
Yeah.
And maybe I would even go as far as to say Marjorie Wiley, because
I that far, yeah.
I was going to ask about living heroes as well, or living icons as well.
And carrying that flame along with Louise Bennett, with the, ring ding and being there, being that musician for the entire time, doing her own research, her own type of stuff with the university, with the National Dance Theatre Company and various spaces. And so I think that there are other persons who we need to lift up in a particular way. You can't, I mean, all right, let's say we get to a place where we have 30 heroes. How is that going to hurt us?
That's what I'm saying. Why should there be a limit? Why should there be a limit?
Yeah, we have a whole heap of folk farms, and they're helped to make us who we are.
And the inventors, the people who are inventing and creating these things where they're curing different diseases, and it's happening right in Jamaica. Those are heroes.
Heroes.
The thing about the icon for me, it's really, in a way, you end up kind of like, I don't know, listing out the accolades and the artistic work that they've done, not focusing on the importance of the work to our peoplehood.
Yeah,
you understand what I mean?
Into a drop of something that say, this is what it really meant. This is the real impact. This is the real value. This is how it empowered our people. Yeah.
And I mean, maybe I'll write something to whom and who do I write that to at this stage of the game? I guess I could find out.
It feels like the resistance to it is that we've had those years that we've had for too long, and nothing has been added or subtracted for so long. So now we kind of it's stuck. It's calcified. It's like how some people deal with reggae. It's like, it's been this way so long, so you can't change. You can't do it differently, or it's not really reggae. It's not authentic. It's not this. So I think we get into this thing where the calcium deposits just build up, and now it's been this way so long, so we can't change it. It's just wrong. It's sacrilege to change this. I have to get over yourself. I'm lucky. I know I keep saying that. I need to stop saying that. I'm sorry.
No. This actually does come back to what we're talking about in terms of the legacies that we receive and how we hold them. We put them in a glass case like a bulla, a nice, like a safe bulla. And then them not, if you touch, you could have dead for hungry, but then if you touch, forgetting that bulla actually makes so you can't eat it, so you're not hungry.
Right.
So a lot of forms, for example, that we've received were for a particular purpose. They were supposed to do something liberatory for us, particularly our dance forms, our traditional forms. But we are holding them. It's not to say you must remember them as they were, but we're holding them to such a particular, state that we're not allowing them to evolve to be able to do the same thing for us in this time now.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because our communities may require something different that might require an expansion. And you see also, unfortunately, because it's not like we have a direct line to our indigeneity in a way. Like, okay, in Philippines, them have a direct line. So if you want to do something with what is that which is traditional, you know who to go to ask, because they have received that information that it wasn't an interrupted line. Similarly, in other spaces like that. But all we are, oh my God, I should write this.
Our lines are forked and branched.
Yes, all we are is interrupted lines. We are interrupted lines in this country, and so it's like we have to figure out a way now to use it, because it's fragmented already. How many fragments can you get together? But then don't use it in its fragmented way by itself, because then you can't access the power of it. Like for me, dancehall is extremely fragmented. There's a liberatory technology within it, but it is fragmented and it is serving another kind of purpose instead of actually a liberatory purpose for the entire country. I mean, for me, that is the next place to take these things. There has to be a next place. There's no way the Buddha was baked to be stay in the cake and the people them are dead. They're hungry.
Let me eat cake.
Right. Them eat Buddha.
For me though, when you talk about interruptions, I go back to music and to how the interruptions are what creates the rhythms.
That's it.
You know, so that is what creates the rhythm and the variety and the things. So I mean, that is who we are, and that is why we are.
I wish there weren't violent interruptions. Oh my God, I wish we all met. You know, our ancestors met in a nice peaceful environment and exchanged tea for some.
It seems like that never happens.
Oh my God, it's always this violence.
Yeah.
And it don't done, because in 2024 the people them still try to colonize people and wipe out people and themselves
all over the world.
Oh my God. So
I'm trying to maintain empire.
One of the things that did occur during the time that we were on hiatus is that I went back into Star Trek. I said, okay, you know what? Me a big people know. Before we couldn't really watch it because, you know, it coming upon school night. I think it was Monday or something, and I couldn't get to really watch it because it was late. So I watched
Which one of the series?
I started with Next Generation with Picard, right? And then I went to Deep Space Nine, and then I went to Voyager.
The best one.
Yes, I loved Voyager. I went to Discovery.
Oh, I love Discovery.
I went to Enterprise, which is like the pre.
Yeah, I haven't developed appetite for it, but yeah.
Okay, right. I mean, the truth is, they always start slow to me, and then I get caught up in the characters, and you know, it's like bedtime stories for me, and I even watch the movies, right?
Right.
And what remains the same is, it's interesting how the assumption was that by a certain time we would have passed this kind of avarice, this sort of I need to colonize, this sort of I'm better than you are. But no, it is all through those things, even though those things were written in a time when it was actually happening, right?
Yeah.
But it was difficult for them to envision the world or worlds outside of the earth that still did not have that
Yeah.
ethos.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it taught me so much about what is even happening now in the world. How the and not even just in the world, within our interpersonal spaces, within the institution where I work, like just those archetypes of being, you know. It was a really fascinating rewatch. And I don't know if I wonder how Roddenberry would feel now, seeing where he thought the world would have been in 2024, but then realizing, you know, we're probably not going to line up. We're not going to align with it at all. Probably not.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to have been outside of that, at least on Earth, in like the by the 23rd, 24th century. Nobody was having these kind of wars anymore because, you know, we made it through.
Take heart in a different dimension. The world exists in that way. We can just
very true. That's sci-fi too, for real. Yeah. Sorry to have taken it there.
What is on the horizon for you?
It's just because that place, but that's my favorite place to go.
It's true, sci-fi. Yeah, me and I like particularly Afrofuturist, science fiction. You know, like Night of the Indigo. You know, like the movie that's supposed to do for a long time, and the audiobook.
It's gonna be. By the way, have you ever read a book called The Eye, the Nose, and the Ear?
No, please send it to me.
All right. Yeah. That one.
Please let me know. Let me look for it.
Again,
yeah, man. This is where we're supposed to be. What you're saying, Mike?
I was asking you guys what's on the horizon for towards the end of the year. Is there anything exciting?
I'm going to hibernate, and it's very exciting for me.
That sounds wonderful. I don't know if I shared that. I wish that I was independently wealthy and I had a mountain complex, a thing by a river, and I could just be there creating. And you're all welcome, of course.
Of course.
I need to sleep. I need to really, really rest. I've actually tried to also like align my work life with the seasons. So I don't expect a lot of productivity from myself at this time of the year. I really am I've been in a sort of planting, seeding moment. And I need to just kind of like have some stuff ruminate while I rest myself in the earth.
Yeah.
And allow the things to start to germinate. Not to mean that I won't be thinking about things. I'll be thinking and planning, but I'm not trying to actually activate anything in this season. When springtime comes should be, and I mean it's been kind of working that way for me by about 2 years now. Springtime is usually when I start to generate things, choreography, writing. So yeah, I'm trying to align with those kind of things. I'm allowing myself the time to just rest and figure out, really strategize, okay, where do I want to put my energy into in the upcoming year, and when in the upcoming year.
This is a busy time for me coming on, so I'm waiting for the nest to happen. And not that my life is not always busy, but this is usually a busier time, which I kind of look forward to, actually.
Capricorn.
Yeah, Capricorn. Looking forward to that busyness and so on. My thing though is that there was a time in my life where I was so eager, excited, and gung-ho on doing my own projects that when after finishing the people them work, whoever the people them was, even if it was Ashe and my home base and everything, after finishing the people them work, I reach home, I shower, and I start doing my own work, my own play, my own songs, my own stories, my own novel. You understand? I hunger for that again. So that's what I'm looking forward to recreating. Where I think because I do get satisfaction out of the work that I do on a daily basis, the people them work. I do get satisfaction out of doing the people them work. And so there's not a hunger do my work
Mm-hmm.
to fill a gap. So there's something in that, So there's something about being hungry. So because there's no, I do get some sort of creative excitement, some creative thing there, some social comfort, some sense of satisfaction, a job well done. All of those things I get from doing my regular job. And because of my to go and do my work, which is what God sent me on planet Earth to do, and write a book and do this and do that and write a play and tell these stories that get young people to think differently about consciousness and about identity and blackness and all of those things. I want to be hungry again for that. But God, don't make me hungry, not literally. I don't mean it like that, because I like food and live comfortable. I just want, I don't want to do without work. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that resonate for me for true. I know that feeling. Yeah.
I feel like the first half of the year, like with this and with other things, I think I was doing a lot, like especially with the personal work as well as teaching and that other stuff. But the reggae online stuff was a lot because I was doing a lot of different things. And I think I'm in a place now where I'm kind of recovering, but I'm also in a place where I'm doing, I think, trying to do more work on myself more spiritually in a way, because there's some stuff, as we said in the beginning, there's some stuff that's been the way they've been for a while, and they need to change.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking these questions. I think I've shared with both of you that I've been using that journal app on the phone, and sometimes I'm cursing at the journal app because I'm like that's the only place that I can yell these things to, and curse the whatnots and the BCs and the RCs to that place, because sometimes the answer is not coming and it's a long time the answer not come. So that is what I'm trying to get some answers and move in a different direction, I think, than circling. So I'm trying to do some of the hibernating as well coming up, but also spending the time on asking the questions and waiting for the answers, and seeing.
And that resonates as well. Like, I mean, I think I'm going to be doing all of that from all of us, I just know that I really am in rest deficit right now. And also I've had to deal with some things that took a lot of emotional energy from me very recently, especially angry emotional energy. And I find recouping that which was expended with anger, it takes a little bit more quality recovery time. So I'm really just gonna
those chemicals have to something to do with those chemicals.
But yeah, I feel, interestingly enough, even though I'm tired, I feel a little renewed in a way. Maybe it's also because the work I just did was successful, and it wasn't just successful because people said so, but also because I felt the growth and change in the students, and I saw what I wanted to see. I know what I would improve, but I didn't really care so much about it. It's done, and so I'm probably riding the wave of that, remembering that, and probably want to replicate more of those kinds of experiences. So I feel a little fresh around it. I feel a little hopeful, but I still am tired. So I wouldn't be trying to jump now onto that and try to get active. That would be counter to what I intuitively know needs to happen. So I'm not gonna panic around it.
Isn't it a beautiful thing that there's a beautiful space where somebody like Eugene Williams can continue to share his genius with the world? I'm just grateful. They'll see him show up as a director.
I'm telling you,
use such brilliant works and emancipate the artist from these young persons who get to work with him. And to Michael's earlier statement about if he was a billionaire, you had,
Independently wealthy. Yes.
wealthy, I would love to create spaces where people like Eugene can just keep working, him eat and him sleep and him everything comfortably, and for all of but people who really have invested in themselves, these heroes have invested in themselves in such a way that it helps to pull greatness out of others.
That's right.
Platform, a continuous platform, a space where they can continue to do what they do best, which is make the human race a better place through the use of the arts. So yeah. So
well, here what I'm saying to you. Make it so, number one.
Make it so.
Make it engaged.
No, yeah, make it so. We've already put it out there. It's very important. It was wonderful watching the bridge being created generationally between Eugene and the actors, and also gender wise. So he's an older Caribbean black man, and these are younger Caribbean black women. And the play is about womanity, and particularly Black American womanity, right? So it was interesting, but the grace with which he approached it, and the truth of centering the woman's experience through centering the actress's experiences. We brought in, because we know it's a play that deals with these very, very important and still timely issues, that have to do with bodily autonomy, sexual assault, and so on. And we brought in the college counselor to speak to the students about it. I did a number of conversations about, womanism and feminism and the context of the work, so that it was a full learning experience.
And it showed.
It really, really, really showed. And they took their time and they blossomed and they became a sisterhood. What was one of the best things that happened? It never ever happened on stage. This play is also about the kind of sisterhood and community that particularly Black women have had to have in the United States of America. And we see how that is coming out now with all these election results and stuff, right? And there was a point in time when I was concerned because the actors were from different year groups. So they weren't used to working with each other. Some might have had issues from before. And so I was trying to get them to understand the sisterhood and to feel it in an embodied way. And it just wasn't happening. The exercises that I was doing, you could see some people were walking on the outside of the ring, all this kind of stuff. They took it upon themselves somehow, I don't know, to pull out of, not leave, but create another WhatsApp group from the general production WhatsApp group, just the cast alone, so no crew in it. And somehow in that in that group, they call it Colored Gal, right? That's Colored Gal. And they somehow, I think something might have happened to one of the cast members. And through that group, they were able to help her through it, help her out of it. I said, look at sisterhood in the 21st century. And look at Shanghai's work doing what it was supposed to do.
Facilitated by
an insane.
Facilitated through the arts, facilitated through a brilliant playwright, a brilliant director, a brilliant movement director, and so that again just resonates with me in terms of the power and the value and the impact of art, and how we are the carriers of something so valuable. Because we were not carrying those things. If you were not carrying those, these young women would not have had that facility to support each other in that way.
I mean, for me, that probably was the icing on the cake, and the performance was a brought-out. Because it became real to them. That cycle became complete because they took ownership of it, and the principles of what their monologues and their dialogues were about, those principles became real, and that's why you were able to see what you saw on the stage. It's that's heroic work.
It is. We are 2 minutes out of our 1 hour. I think we can wrap up. I don't know what's the
the bells.
Sorry.
Feel the bells. It's Christmas time. Happy holidays. Them something day. Season's greetings.
the end yet. We don't know. Maybe we want to do something again before.
Maybe. Let's
Yeah.
see.
So this is maybe the last one.
This is
Maybe
maybe.
not.
Yeah,
This is
maybe.
maybe.
And perhaps not.
A
So,
Christmas special, no, yo. In Christmas jammies with hot cocoa, not cocoa, but Jamaican cocoa tea.
cocoa. Well, I can't. It's hard for me to find that here.
I
but,
know, sorry,
we
you're
can
gonna have to
pretend.
have Swiss Miss.
With ice,
No Nestle, no Nestle.
real
No.
chocolate tea.
Yeah.
Real chocolate tea.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yes, my loves, it's been wonderful as usual. It's good to see you now.
Good to see you too. Yes,
Good to see you.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Until
I think
next
that's
time
it for
at the table.
today. This one. Love you.
Loving it bad.
All right.
Never share.
Goodbye, my heroes. Mwah.
Bye, my heroes.